Ever feel like you're constantly juggling a million things? Work, life, family, and then stress just kind of piles on top of it all.
It's like it's just part of the deal, right?
Right, like you can't really escape it. So that's exactly what we're diving into today, how to deal with stress. But especially how understanding your emotions, what's called emotional intelligence or EI, can help you manage that stress better.
It's a powerful connection, and we've dug through a ton of research to bring you the most useful insights, like a cheat sheet for handling stress.
Exactly. So no need to get bogged down in all the complicated sciencey stuff. We'll keep it practical.
Yeah.
So first things first, what exactly is emotional intelligence?
It's basically being really in tune with your own emotions, like knowing what you're feeling and how it impacts you. And the other side of it is understanding how other people are feeling too.
So kind of like being able to read both your own emotional weather report and being able to kind of predict other people's forecasts.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the research actually breaks this down into 5 main areas. First up is self-awareness. This is all about being able to identify your own emotions, understanding why you feel the way you do. And then, the really important part, recognizing how those emotions affect your thoughts and your actions.
Okay, so that's step one, self-awareness. What's next?
Next is self-regulation. This is the part where you learn to actually manage those emotions. So instead of just immediately reacting when you're stressed or angry or whatever.
You're able to pause and choose a more thoughtful response.
Exactly. And it's not about pretending you don't feel things or trying to suppress them. It's about making healthy choices about how you respond.
That makes sense. So what's number three?
Number 3 is motivation. This is the inner drive that helps you achieve your goals. It's what keeps you going even when things get tough and you face obstacles and setbacks, especially those stressful ones.
It's like your inner engine.
Yeah, exactly. It's what keeps you resilient and keeps you moving forward.
I like that. Resilience is huge. Okay, what about the last two areas of EI?
Well, number 4 is empathy. And, for someone like you who connects with so many people, I'm guessing this one comes pretty naturally.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I have to actively work on too. It's not always easy.
Right. It's a skill. And it's about being able to understand and share the feelings of others, which is so crucial when you're dealing with interpersonal stress, like conflicts or misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
if you can understand where the other person is coming from, it's much easier to navigate those tricky situations.
Exactly. And then last but not least is social skills. This is your ability to build and maintain healthy relationships, to communicate clearly and effectively, and to work collaboratively with others.
It's like your toolkit for the social world.
Precisely. And, our social interactions can be a huge source of stress, but they can also be our biggest source of support when we're struggling.
So true. Okay, so we've got these five key components of EI, but how does all of this actually help us deal with stress when it pops up?
Well, a lot of it comes back to that first component, self-awareness. If you're really tuned into your own emotions, you'll start to notice the early warning signs that your stress levels are rising.
So what are some of those signs? What should we be looking out for?
Well, it's different for everyone, but some common ones are feeling more irritable or short-tempered than usual, having trouble focusing or concentrating on things, or experiencing physical symptoms like headaches or fatigue.
Oh yeah, I definitely get that brain fog when I'm stressed. Like I can't think straight.
Right. And the key here is that if you're self-aware, you can catch those signals before the stress gets out of control. And that gives you the chance to do something about it proactively instead of just reacting when you're already at your breaking point.
Makes sense. So let's say you do notice those early signs. What then? What are some actual stress management techniques that people can use?
Well, there are a ton of different techniques out there, but many of the most effective ones are directly tied to emotional intelligence. Take emotional regulation, for example. This is all about learning to manage your emotions in a healthy way, and there are specific tools you can use to do that.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Sure, things like deep breathing exercises, mindfulness practices, even progressive muscle relaxation. These can all help calm your nervous system down when you start to feel that stress response kicking in.
So it's not just about trying to ignore the stress. It's about learning to control your reaction to it.
Exactly. It's about being in the driver's seat. Another great technique is cognitive restructuring. This is about learning to identify and challenge those negative thought patterns that can pop up when you're stressed.
You mean like that voice in your head that tells you you can't handle it or that everything is going wrong?
Exactly. That inner critic. And with cognitive restructuring, you learn to reframe those thoughts, to look at the situation from a more balanced and realistic perspective.
That's where the self-awareness piece really comes in. You have to be able to recognize those negative thoughts before you can challenge them.
Exactly. And then, for someone like you, I think problem solving is probably a natural stress management tool.
It's definitely my go-to. Like, if I can figure out a solution, I feel so much better.
Right. And that's a great example of how emotional intelligence can be really helpful in managing stress. Because when you're able to approach a stressful situation with creativity and critical thinking, you're more likely to find effective solutions. And that, in turn, reduces your stress.
It's like taking back control. Okay, what about social support? How does that play into stress management?
Well, our social connections are a crucial buffer against stress. Having people you can talk to, people who understand what you're going through, can make a huge difference in how well you cope.
So having good social skills, which is part of emotional intelligence, can really help build that strong support network.
Absolutely. Because if you're able to communicate effectively and build strong relationships, you're more likely to have those supportive people in your life when you need them.
Now, stress management isn't just about dealing with things in the moment. It's also about building resilience so you can bounce back from setbacks. What does that look like in the context of emotional intelligence?
Resilience is your ability to adapt and recover after facing adversity. And emotional intelligence can be a powerful driver of resilience. It all starts with self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy, what's that?
It's basically your belief in your own ability to handle challenges. And if you're more aware of your emotions and how to manage them, you're naturally going to feel more confident in your ability to navigate tough situations.
That makes sense. If you understand yourself better, you're less likely to be thrown off by things that don't go according to plan.
Exactly. And then there's emotional flexibility. This
Mhm.
is your ability to regulate your emotions and adapt to changing circumstances. Because, life is full of curveballs, and having that emotional flexibility helps you roll with the punches and keep moving forward.
It's like being able to adjust your sails when the wind changes. Okay, what else contributes to resilience?
Empathy and compassion play a huge role. And this isn't just about empathy for others, it's about having compassion for yourself, too.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you're going through a tough time, it's easy to beat yourself up and get stuck in negative self-talk. But if you can practice self-compassion, if you can acknowledge that everyone struggles sometimes and treat yourself with kindness, you'll be much more resilient in the face of challenges.
That's a really important point. We often give compassion to others more freely than we give it to ourselves.
It's true. And learning to be kind to yourself, especially when you're struggling, is one of the best things you can do for your emotional well-being and your resilience. Okay, so we've talked about managing stress in the moment and building resilience for the long haul. But what about preventing burnout? That feeling of complete exhaustion and overwhelm that can happen when you're under chronic stress.
Burnout is a serious issue. It can really take a toll on your health and well-being. So how can emotional intelligence help prevent that?
Well, there are a few key things that emotionally intelligent people tend to do well that can protect them from burnout. One is setting healthy boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yes, because you're more self-aware, you're more likely to recognize when you're taking on too much, and you're more likely to feel comfortable saying no to additional commitments, which is so important for protecting your time and energy.
I think that's a struggle for a lot of people, especially those of us who are driven and always want to help.
It's true. But learning to say no is a crucial skill for anyone who wants to avoid burnout. Another important piece is self-care.
Self-care. That's always a good reminder.
It is. And for people with high emotional intelligence, self-care isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. They understand that taking care of themselves, both physically and emotionally, is essential for maintaining their overall well-being and preventing burnout. So they make time for things that replenish their energy and bring them joy, whether that's exercise, hobbies, spending time with loved ones, or just taking some quiet time for themselves.
So it's about recognizing what you need and making it a priority.
Exactly. And then the last piece of the burnout prevention puzzle is knowing when to reach out for help. People with strong emotional intelligence are more likely to recognize when they're truly struggling, and they're more likely to be willing to seek support from others, whether that's friends, family, a therapist, or a support group. They understand that it's okay to ask for help and that it's actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
That's such an important message. So many people try to tough it out on their own and end up suffering in silence. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm curious, what are some more concrete, practical things that people can do to manage their stress?
Well, we actually came across some really great advice that was specifically aimed at students, but it's honestly relevant for anyone who's dealing with stress, regardless of their age or profession.
That's okay. I'm all ears.
The first one is so simple, but so often overlooked. Get enough sleep.
You mean like actually get a full 8 hours?
As much as you can, yes. Because when you're sleep deprived, everything feels harder, you're more irritable, you have less patience, you can't focus as well, and your stress levels skyrocket.
I know, I'm definitely a grump when I don't get enough sleep. So prioritizing sleep is key.
Huh.
What else?
Guided imagery is another really cool technique. This is where you take a few minutes to close your eyes and imagine yourself in a peaceful, relaxing scene. Like a beach or a forest or whatever brings you a sense of calm. And by focusing on those positive images, you can actually trigger a relaxation response in your body.
That's a great one for when you just need a quick mental escape.
Right. And then, of course, there's exercise. We all know that exercise is good for us, but it's especially important for managing stress because physical activity releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects, and it gives you a healthy outlet for all that pent-up energy and tension.
Plus, it can be a great distraction from whatever's stressing you out.
Yeah.
What about breathing exercises?
Breathing exercises are amazing. They're so simple, but they can be incredibly effective in calming your nervous system down when you're feeling stressed. The key is to focus on slow, deep breaths, which helps to regulate your heart rate and bring more oxygen to your brain. And you can do them anywhere, anytime.
I'm a big fan of those. Okay, what else we got?
There's also progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR. This one involves tensing and then releasing different muscle groups throughout your body, which helps to relieve physical tension and promote a sense of calm.
I've heard of that. Is that the one where you start with your toes and work your way up?
Yeah, exactly. It's great for relaxing before bed or even during the day if you're feeling tense.
Okay, let's go on my list. What about music?
Music can be a fantastic stress reliever, whether you need something calming to help you unwind or something upbeat to boost your mood. Music can have a powerful effect on your emotional state. And there's actually research that shows that listening to music can lower your heart rate and blood pressure, which are both physical signs of stress.
So crank up the tunes and let the stress melt away. I love it. What about our social connections? We touched on that earlier, but any specific advice there?
Well, building a strong support network is one of the best things you can do for your overall well-being. And that means nurturing your existing relationships and also making an effort to connect with new people who share your interests or who can offer you support and understanding.
It's about having people in your corner who you can rely on when things get tough.
Exactly. And remember, different relationships offer different types of support. Some people are great listeners, some people are great at offering practical help, and some people are just fun to be around and can help take your mind off things.
True. It's important to have a variety of people in your life. Okay, what about diet? How does that play into stress management?
Well, what you eat can have a big impact on your energy levels, your mood, and even how your body reacts to stress. And it's not just about what you eat, it's also about when you eat. Eating regular, balanced meals throughout the day can help keep your blood sugar stable, which can make you feel more even-keeled emotionally. And staying hydrated is also crucial because even mild dehydration can make you feel more tired and irritable. Oh, and one more thing on the diet front. Try to limit your intake of caffeine and alcohol, especially when you're feeling stressed, because those can actually make things worse in the long run.
So basically, fuel your body with good stuff, and it'll be better equipped to handle stress.
Got it.
Now, here's a tip that might seem obvious, but it's often overlooked. Minimize stress in the first place.
Easier said than done, right? True, but sometimes the most effective stress management strategy is to simply eliminate unnecessary stressors from your life. Take a look at your schedule, your commitments, your habits, and ask yourself, what can I let go of? What's truly adding value to my life and what's just draining my energy? Maybe it's cutting back on social media. Maybe it's learning to say no more often. Maybe it's delegating tasks, or maybe it's just simplifying your routine.
It's about being intentional with your time and energy. I like that. Okay, any other tips?
The last one is mindfulness. This is about learning to pay attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts and feelings as they arise without getting swept away by them. And research has shown that mindfulness can be really effective in reducing stress, anxiety, and even depression.
So it's about being more present and aware of what's happening inside yourself.
Exactly. And the more you practice mindfulness, the better you'll get at recognizing those early signs of stress, and the more effectively you'll be able to use your emotional intelligence skills to manage it.
Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive. We've covered so much ground. But I think the main takeaway for me is that emotional intelligence isn't just some abstract concept. It's a set of practical skills that can make a real difference in how you handle stress.
Absolutely. And it's something that anyone can develop with practice. It starts with building that self-awareness, then learning to regulate your emotions, and then using those skills to build resilience, prevent burnout, and ultimately live a happier, healthier life.
So to wrap things up, I'd like to leave you with a question to ponder. As you think about everything we've discussed today, what resonates most with you? What's one small action step you could take today to start incorporating some of these ideas into your life? Maybe it's trying a deep breathing exercise, maybe it's setting aside some time for self-care, or maybe it's just making a conscious effort to be more mindful throughout your day. Whatever it is, remember that even small changes can make a big difference in how you experience stress. So keep exploring these concepts, keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way.